I'm Michael.
I'm Stephanie. This is Jasmine. And this is our Vandura. It's a 1988 GMC Vandura. I'll give you a tour of the inside. So this is our little tiny home. So our sink is just an IKEA sink. We got it from IKEA. Our faucet is just a foot pump, and the pump's down there. Our water's pretty low right now, but this is our freshwater tank, and then this is our gray water tank. We've actually recently upgraded this before. Our gray water tank was just a gas jug. So we've upgraded that. We finally figured out a way to make them both fit. Under here, we have all of our food storage, so we have like our canned goods and stuff up there, and then just other food there. Then this is where we have our stove, and then we'll just pull it out and set it on top. And then this is another cabinet we kind of recently built. It wasn't there at first. We just needed a little bit more storage. So in here we have our pots and pans, bowls, coffee, tea, all that good stuff. And then in here, we just have kind of like random things, like Jasmine's dog food and stuff is mostly in the bottom, and then our camera and other more pots and pans are in here. We actually have this little oven. It looks really ghetto, but it works really well. It's just like this aluminum thing and folds out into a box, and you just put it on the stovetop, and it works really well. We've baked like banana bread and cookies, and I think we made like vegan chicken nuggets in it one time. And then up here we have just all of our bathroom stuff. And then in this side, again, it's just kind of a random junk drawer, mostly Jasmine stuff and then games. This one's just all of like our art supplies and books and stuff like that is up there. And then this again is super new. We just built this. Kind of like clusters it a little bit, but we needed more storage again. So this, we have our clothes in here, and then our cooler underneath. It's just a Coleman marine cooler, I think. It doesn't plug in or anything. We literally just put ice in it. We ideally eventually want to upgrade to a fridge, but the cooler works for now, especially in the winter. In the summer, you have to put ice in it a lot more, obviously. Under here, it's really full right now because we've been on the road and we haven't done laundry yet, but this just pulls out to here, and it's all of our dirty laundry and our like backpack if we ever do like long hikes or anything. Lighting, we have these little pot lights. We have two here and then just one in the back there. We honestly don't use them that much. We honestly kind of forget we have them, or especially in the city, they're almost too bright, so we need to get like a dimmer switch or something for them. But we do have those. And we have string lights as well. Yeah, so our curtains, they used to be blackout. We have like reflectics that go in behind. So when we're in the city or whatever, we can have our privacy. But yeah, we just have curtains that are on a little system that are a pulley system. These here are like original, and they're just really handy, so we kept them. And we have a sunroof. It's really nice. It's really nice because you can lay in bed and like look at the stars. But yeah, I feel like we don't open it all that much. I opened it one time and then forgot, and then it rained, and then it came in, and Michael was mad. But then we have a Max Air fan that works really well, especially in the summer when it gets really hot in here. We'll just crank this open and put it on full blast and crack the back window, and it creates a really nice draft, which is really great, especially with the dog. And it has, I think, like 10 different speeds. And it has a thermostat, so you can push the thermostat button and it'll keep it at, I think it's like 78, yeah.
We use rigid foam insulation on the walls and the floor, and spray foam in all the cracks. And then we put some plywood on the floor. And this is just like pine paneling from Home Depot. It's like pretty cheap, and it's really thin, so it kind of bends to the curves of the van. And the flooring is just laminate flooring, also from Home Depot. All the cabinets are actually just plywood. When we first built the van out, it was just this cabinet here, this cabinet, and these. And this was like an afterthought. We needed some more storage. And when we put it there, we just had kind of a white cabinet, and we were like, this kind of looks boring. So Steph looked on Pinterest, found some cool little designs, and this is similar to one she found. We just kind of made it our own. So when we actually added this a month ago, we went with a similar design. I just find it kind of, it's character. The van's got a lot of like character on the outside. It's like an older van, so bring some character inside. It's nice. You just strips of wood, and we just traced the design on there, and then glued the strips on, stained them, and painted them. They did carpentry for 4 years. I'm still doing it off and on, but I did siding, so like a lot of this stuff I had a lot of experience with. But it was useful, the experience. But doing it in a van is totally different than doing it in a house. Nothing's level. Everything kind of curves weird. And then these old vans, there's just like there's no metal studs like you have in a Transit or a Sprinter that you can just screw into. So took a lot of just figuring it out, and I'd say half of the build time is me actually just sitting in here thinking about how I'm gonna do stuff.
Do you know how much the build cost you?
Roughly, I would say, like electrical aside, maybe $600 for everything, all the wood, the insulation, plywood. But with the fan, the solar, and the original battery we had, which was a little cheaper, it probably like close to 2,000 if that. I just have a 100-watt Renogy solar panel on the roof, and when we first got the van, we just got one battery from Costco. It was pretty small, and it did us good for 1.5 years, but we just decided to upgrade, so we got a heater. So we got these two guys here. It's kind of a mess in their wires, but it's 210 amp hours worth of batteries, so eventually we're going to get another solar panel too. Lately, just because I only have one solar panel and I doubled my battery bank, I can't like charge the batteries fast enough. With one, I need two, I think. But originally, yeah, it was enough. We had just a small 70 amp hour battery in that one solar panel, and that did us an entire like 1.5 years in the van. And only once did we have a dead battery, and it was on Vancouver Island, of course. It's like winter time. Our whole electrical system, we try to make it as basic as possible. This inverter I just got as well from Canadian Tire. It was just on sale for like $120. Just a basic 1,000-watt inverter. All we really do with that is charge stuff, and like that's literally it. At first we were going to use it for a fridge, but the fridge just used too much power.
And do you get charged when you drive as well? Or?
No, and that's another upgrade we're going to do soon, get the isolator and charge it while we drive. We should have done it a while ago, but it was kind of like adequate at the time, so we just didn't keep putting money into it. But now with the bigger battery, we're definitely going to work on that. We just installed this heater 2 months ago because we're staying the winter in the van for the most part. Last winter we were on Vancouver Island, so it was pretty chill and like warm. We didn't really need it. But it's just it's a knockoff diesel heater of the S-Bar. We just put it here mostly because it was after the entire build was done and we had nowhere else to put it. So if I open this door, you have like access to the whole thing. It's still kind of unfinished looking, but this is the diesel tank. That's the heater, and I just drilled 2 holes here. One's the exhaust and one's the air intake, and the fuel pump is outside, so I don't have to hear the ticking all the time. We had a Mr. Buddy before this, and like the moisture issues were just crazy. So this thing was $200, like $100 more than the Mr. Buddy. It's so much better. It's thermostat controlled, so you set a temperature and it'll keep it at that temperature. It runs off diesel and it vents outside, so you can run it all night and not worry about like carbon monoxide as much. This thing's really efficient. We just went through the Rockies and it dipped down to like -16. We had it running for 8 hours and it went from I think here to here. Like it used maybe like 0.5 liters, if that. It costs like $5 to fill this thing, so I would say maybe $10, $20 a month if you're using it a lot. We haven't had any sun really before leaving for like 3 or 4 weeks, and it didn't kill our battery. We ran it pretty much every night, but it does use like at startup, it uses it quite a bit, maybe like 2 amps, which really isn't that much. But once it's running and it's like on a low setting, it's 0.1 amps per hour, so you could run that for quite a while. Pretty efficient. I've only had it for a couple months. I don't know how reliable it is, but I know a lot of people swear by these things, so you could buy 3 of these for the price of the S-Bar. So it's like, why not? These are our Reflectix window covers. Kind of black on one side, Reflectix on the other. We just pop them in the back. We have a little table here. Like I said, it's a disaster back here. And it's literally just a 2x4 frame. There's the shoes. It's super basic. Probably should have put more thought into it, but it's pretty simple. Caulking for every leak we get. And it flips up. So we got our life jackets and a little inflatable kayak there, which is pretty cool. So this is like our shower bucket. So when COVID hit, we had a hard time finding showers, and we just had to come up with something. A lot of people get the solar ones, but this little guy's pretty cool. It's like $30 on Amazon. And essentially this, like, you just drop in the bucket of water, turn it on, and like shower. It's pretty cool, and it runs off USB. And we just boil a couple pots of water, and we suction on the side of the van. You can shower anywhere. It's pretty handy. For $30, can't really complain. But in a pinch, it's great. It's better than not showering. The experience in the van so far has been pretty good. Like, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. We've got to go a lot of cool places, met a lot of really cool people. Been pretty lucky. The van hasn't broken down much. We've had
It's all just little things.
Yeah, we've had a lot of really good experiences. I mean, it's pretty sweet waking up in a different place every night.
Yeah.
Meeting the people is the coolest part, because we've met so many like lifelong friends now that we would never have met if we hadn't been in the van. And when you're in the van, it's kind of like a little community. You like instantly feel like a part of a community, and you see someone living in a van, you're like, oh hey, and you go over and talk to them, and you know, you're buddies now. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. We decided to start living in a van because we really wanted to travel. Originally we wanted to world travel, but obviously with Jasmine we didn't want to world travel and leave her anywhere, and it's really difficult to world travel with the dog. So then we kind of stumbled across the van idea and just kind of fell in love with it, like financial freedom, and even just like the freedom of being able to go pretty much wherever we want, whenever we want. Now a little bit less because of COVID, but yeah, it's just the freedom's great, and Jasmine absolutely loves it.
We just like seeing new things. We get really bored with routine, seeing the same thing every day and doing the same thing every day. So like when you're in the van, you can just drive 2 hours, you might see something you totally never saw before. Like, I don't know, it's just fun. For work, I usually find like a construction gig for a couple months. It's pretty easy to find, at least right now. I haven't had any issues. I'll just grab a job for a couple months, save up money, and we did some farm work too in BC, which is really kind of suits the lifestyle really well. Yeah.
Then we can both work and have the dog just kind of roaming around, which is really nice.
Because that's one of the issues with the dog is, with the dog only one of us can really work, because you don't want to leave the dog in the van for like 8 or 9 hours a day. So typically I'll find a job, because with construction it pays pretty well. Yeah. But the farm, like those kind of jobs are great because the dog can kind of just run around with you all day.
So I would say the benefits of this lifestyle, kind of like what we said before, just like the financial freedom, the freedom to be able to go wherever, whenever, pretty much. You just like appreciate the little things more, like having like a hot running shower that like you can take your time in, or like having running hot water in a sink. Like, I mean, it's fine, like obviously we do fine living without it, but it just makes you appreciate those little things like so much more.
Take it for
like
granted.
In a house I feel like you can easily take those things for granted, where in the van you just really appreciate all the little things, because even having running hot water in a house is still such a privilege, because there's still some people that don't have that. So I just think it kind of puts things into perspective and makes you appreciate all things, and don't like not to take them for granted.
And what are some of the challenges of this lifestyle?
There's like quite a few challenges. Like I'd say like anything else in life, like an apartment, like there's always challenges. Like you're always, well, for me, I'm always worried the van's gonna break down, and if your van breaks down, that's your house.
You're homeless.
Just like dealing with all the paperwork sometimes too. Like right now everything's kind of expiring, so we have to go back to Nova Scotia to renew it all. Sometimes I wouldn't say it's hard finding a job, but in some towns and some places it's kind of, there's like a stigma to van life. And if you can't straight up just tell your boss sometimes I live in a van, because you might not get that job. So and just with it becoming more trendy, I feel like, I don't know, like a lot more rules are coming into place in some towns, like Victoria for example, where people are kind of noticing vans more and more, and it gets a little harder, and you wake up to a few more knocks on your door at night.
Especially now in winter, like trying to find water has been a pain, because all the water refills, and especially with COVID, are all closed down now. So that's kind of become harder, and it's like something you kind of always have to be thinking about in the back of your mind, is like, oh, is the gray water full? Where, like, do we have to dump that? Where are we going to dump that? Where are we going to refill our water?
So basically there's a few more chores every day. In the end, I think it's worth it. Some people might not.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, but I mean, it's worth it for us, I think.
As long as you can deal with living in such a small space, right? Like it's crowded. Some people just like the comforts, and there's like nothing wrong with that, but like if you want like the experience more than the comfort, like it's pretty
you just kind of have to weigh out which you would rather.
So how do you deal with that challenge of living small as a couple with a dog?
Like we'll do like a clothes purge like every couple months pretty much.
Yeah, we're due for a purge again, but
it kind of forces you to do that. Get rid of stuff you don't really use. Where like in a house you kind of tuck it away and you never see it again. In the van it's like always there, and eventually you get rid of it if you don't use it. And it makes you think like 3 times before you buy something else. So.
And like obviously definitely there's times where you get frustrated with each other, and it's like, you bump your head and then they're in the way, and like, it can get a little like much, but I mean, I feel like that happens like obviously not in a big house, you're not going to be getting in each other's way, but you still run into issues. It's just
I guess you just have to deal with everything as it comes, where like a house you can kind of avoid it, especially if you get in an argument, you like just walk away, go to another room. Well, in the van, you're kind of stuck there.
Yeah.
So it's like,
You
you
didn't
gotta
really
figure it out.
Yeah.
So any problems come up a little more immediately in a small space. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to
Yeah.
deal with them more immediately too.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Like at first, it can be overwhelming, I think.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's like you go somewhere and you wonder why someone hasn't dealt with that earlier because you're so used to just dealing with it right away.
Was minimalism something that interested you maybe before van life?
When we first met, her dream home was like a mansion.
Yeah, I
like the
was very
opposite.
like in school for interior decorating,
Yeah.
like, you know, I liked all these big fancy things, and then we kind of worked on a ranch in BC for a summer, and then I don't know what really flipped that in us, but
Well, then we just got like an apartment, started buying all kinds of stuff, and we're just like
Yeah.
bummed out all the time, working all the time. We're like,
Yeah.
this sucks.
yeah.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it was kind of one of those things where you like live in an apartment and you think, oh well, I'm gonna have money, and then once I buy this, then I'll be happy, and once I do this, it like, you know, it'll make it better. But it was just kind of like this endless
Yeah.
cycle of
Collecting stuff.
collecting things that didn't really make you happy or change anything. When we first even looked into the van thing, I was set on like, no, I like want to be able to stand. But then it came to how bad do I want to do this lifestyle and be able to travel, and how important is standing to me. So we just kind of
Just got the
like met in the middle and
Yeah.
like got the van, because to me doing van life was more important than the priority of being able to stand. And I mean, we've lived in it for 2 years and it's been fine.
And what kind of advice would you give to somebody that's thinking about doing van life?
just maybe not be so fussy with the first build, like the first
Yeah.
van, because like you don't necessarily want to invest too much because it might not be for you, right? Like
Yeah,
you might try
exactly.
and it just might not be your thing.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be so invested that you kind of, you know, lost a lot of money or time and stuff.
Yeah. Look at your budget and what you can like realistically do, and if like go with that and
Yeah.
start with that, because you can save up way more money living in the van to live your dream van or your dream house or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, like especially with like the elaborate builds, you know, the big Sprinter vans where they just invest like tens of thousands of dollars right off the bat and they never even lived in a van before.
Yeah.
And then like a few months later they're rebuilding it or something. Like
Yeah.
just start like with the very basics, you know, and then because it's your needs are going to change a lot
Yeah.
through the time. Like when we started this, we didn't have this, and like we had to add all that stuff after, and
Yeah.
like we never knew we would have needed it until we needed it, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like there's no point in getting ahead of yourselves. You can always add stuff.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to add about your experience or about van life?
Being respectful
Oh yeah.
around
That's a
like
good one.
camping spots, it's becoming like a huge issue. So now that van life's getting really trendy, so you pull into a camp spot and like maybe the garbage isn't from van lifers, but we use it those spots a lot. We should clean it up.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna look bad on us, and there's already so many places getting shut down because
Yeah.
of stuff like that. Just like you don't pull into front of people's houses and set up camp for a
Yeah.
week, you know, like
Yeah.
just think about like the long term so that this movement can stay a thing longer,
Yeah, exactly.
because eventually they'll clamp down on it if we're just being disrespectful all the time.
Thank-
Not always going to be adventure and like
Yeah, it's
like
not
Instagram's
always-
a highlight reel, so you're not
Yeah.
always like backed up on the lake. I mean, those pictures are awesome and they're true, like you really do
Yeah,
camp
it
like
is.
that,
That
a lot.
does happen. That does. Yeah.
But it's not like an everyday thing, right?
Yeah,
So
like, some
there
days
will
you
be
are.
days you're cooped in the van when it's raining and you're just bored.
Yeah.
You know?
Or some days
So-
you park at Walmart. Some days you
Yeah.
park in a whatever. But like, the Walmart has its perks too.
Yeah.
Like you can walk
Walmart
in
feels
and.
like a second home to me.
Yeah.
honestly.
I used to hate Walmart. Now it's great. You can go in, you get Wi-Fi, you have
Yeah.
a bathroom.
It's pretty cozy.
Yeah.
If you had to sum up, what would your personal philosophy on life be?
Maybe just like go for it, but always have like plan B and plan C. Because like we do a lot of things that where our families are like, well, don't do that, but we do it and it ends up being like a really good decision on our part.
Yeah.
But sometimes things don't work out and like you need to have a plan B or
Yeah.
plan C for sure.
But I feel like if you really want to do something, you just need to go for it and stop making up excuses,
Yeah.
because
You can
it's
make
for
it,
us, like, I mean, I feel like for anyone, it'll always work out. Like, I mean, worst comes to worst, you figure it out. I mean, like, we last minute planned to go to the States last winter.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was an impromptu decision, and I feel like everyone thought we were kind of crazy. But I mean, now I'm so glad that, I mean, at the time we were really glad that we did it, but now with all this COVID stuff, like, you don't know when we're going to be able to go back to the States. Like, I'm even more glad that we just
Yeah, that's the thing.
jumped off, like, just went for it.
Yeah, like if you don't just
But-
go for what you really want to do, then
Yeah.
you're gonna always be wondering why you didn't do it, and sometimes that opportunity might just
Might
be
not
missed,
come back.
you know?
Yeah,
Like you might not get that chance to do it again, so
yeah. So if you want something,
just
just
go for
just
it.
go for
even
it.
if it doesn't make that much sense.
Or even if it's like super scary to take
Yeah.
that leap, like, you just gotta do
Because
it.
you can like talk yourself into anything, right?
Yeah.
You can follow us on Instagram at Dora the Explorer Van.
Hey everybody, it's Forrest the Filmmaker. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Alternative Dwellings. If you want to see more, playlists are popping up right now where you can watch all of our archived episodes. Or if you want to see new ones, make sure to subscribe because they premiere at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every single Monday. Hope to see you guys there.